Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Brought to you by First Community. I'm Andy Strickland. Thanks for hanging out again on a Friday where the hockey never stops. I mean, I'm telling you, this offseason has just been wild. It's been crazy. It just feels like every day there's some type of news. It just keeps the news cycle going. You know, Gary Bettman and the NHL, they got to be loving this. Although I am a little bit concerned, you see the $18 million contract, and now, that's going to affect and impact contracts across the board all over the National Hockey League. And of course, I'm talking about Leo Carlsson. So if you're watching this podcast, chances are you know who I'm talking about. He gets the $18 million AAV with Anaheim after they matched the offer sheet from Philly. And everyone's saying, hey, what's Celebrini going to get? What's Connor Bedard going to get? Bedard's got to stay healthy. I don't know. I would have some reservations. Whenever you have a player who has multiple shoulder injuries and multiple shoulder surgeries, it's just a little bit of a concern. I just hope this doesn't derail Connor Bedard. I hope we're not saying years down the road, and I got to apologize for even saying this, but I hope we're not saying years down the road that, man, it's a shame that he had shoulder problems and he had shoulder injuries early in his career and he just wasn't able to reach his full maximum potential. Is that possible with Connor Bedard? There was so much hype surrounding him when he came into the NHL. Now, I just hope this guy can get healthy and lead Chicago at least back to the playoffs. I know people don't like to always hear that because some people don't like Chicago. But, a player of his ilk who comes in with that much excitement. I mean, there was as much hype surrounding Connor Bedard, probably even more so than Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid, to be honest with you. I just think having the social media aspect obviously changes things. And there's going to be another guy, whether it's Gavin DuPont or whoever it's going to be. It's going to be somebody. Gavin McKenna, I will say this about McKenna. I think his Landon DuPont, by the way. So whether it's Landon DuPont or Gavin McKenna, the other guys are going to, be able to match the hype. McKenna probably would have had just as much hype as Bedard, if not more hype than Bedard, if he would have stayed in junior and put up 140, 150, 160 points, whatever his total would have been. Then that level of hype would have matched Connor Bedard. Just like if Bedard left junior and would have gone to play in college in his draft year, his season before coming to the NHL, I think you would have seen some of that excitement and hype tempered a little bit. Because I think people are starting to realize now that college hockey is a different game than major junior. It's older. You have more mature players, bigger, stronger, faster, all of that. You're not playing against 16-year-olds. I mean, occasionally you have a 15-year-old playing in the CHL, but 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. I mean, typically college hockey players. We all know you get the odd 18-year-old freshman who's playing, a true freshman, but a lot of freshmen in ice hockey are 20, 21 years of age. We'll see how that changes now moving forward with the 5-and-5 rule, where you have 5 years of college hockey eligibility after your graduating year. So once you graduate high school, you basically have 5 years to get in your 4 years of collegiate hockey. And I know a lot of college hockey people, a lot of hockey people in general don't like that. They don't love that rule. We'll see how it plays out. But Leo Carlsson, yeah, they match. And I think everyone expected Anaheim to match. It would have been a major surprise if they didn't match. It's really interesting because Pat Verbeek is taking some heat. And I think he probably should. Just because, you have a player of his ilk, and then you basically come out and admit that, hey, this is going to have to change in terms of how you approach your restricted free agents. Of guys of his caliber, now he's probably lucky that Cutter Gauthier doesn't need or isn't eligible for an offer sheet. If he was eligible for an offer sheet, he'd be gonzo. Somebody would throw 15, 16, $17 million at him. Anaheim doesn't have the cap space to pay him that without moving multiple players. They're going to have to move some pieces. Petrano's name's been out there. He's been mentioned. Even if they didn't trade Mason McTavish to St. Louis for the 2 first-rounders, they'd have to be moving on from him anyway. They would have to shed $7 million. And he would be a likely candidate. So just think if the Blues didn't give up those 2 first-round picks, so they used those 2 first-round picks to get somebody else, what would it have taken to get Mason McTavish from Anaheim? You'd have him by the balls, wouldn't you? I mean, really, they'd have no leverage in a trade, knowing they have to get Cutter Gauthier signed. And if you could have gotten Leo Carlsson for under $10 million at 9.5, which was probably somewhere in that range where they could have gotten him if they would have signed him closer to the time when they got Jackson Lacombe signed. Then all of a sudden you're getting Gauthier probably under 9.5. Now all of a sudden you get Carlson signed to 18, so I would imagine Gauthier, who's coming off a 40-goal season on an entry-level deal, how's he going to take less than $15 million? He's not. I just don't see it happening. It's fascinating, though. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out with Leo Carlsson. But Gauthier, again, he isn't eligible for a offer sheet. Just like Jimmy Snuggerud, he won't be eligible for an offer sheet at this time next year either. But this is going to change how teams approach their restricted free agents. I can't believe they would allow Carlsson to get to this point. But I will say that it gets to a point where the agent has all the leverage. The team can't force the player to sign. And the agent, who's very good, by the way, I've known Matt Cater for over 20 years, 25 years. Know him very well. He's one of the best under-the-radar agents in the league. He's been doing this for a long time. Actually, he's a former scout for the Blues. He's got great Blues stories. But, I've had so many conversations with Matt over the years. And these guys are smart. They got a feel for what's out there and what's coming. And yeah, they're negotiating. They're not really tipping their hand. They're not telling Pat Verbeek, hey, we're not going to negotiate today because we have an offer sheet coming. But he knew very well there was an offer sheet coming. I won't buy it if he says otherwise. So as an agent, you just stretch it out. You get to July 1, and then the offer sheets start pouring in, and boom, there you go. The kid's making $18 million per year for the next 5 years. And a lot of signing bonus money. I know they try to structure these deals to try to make it nearly impossible or very difficult for the teams to match. But in this case, if there's one thing that Pat Verbeek did do and the Anaheim Ducks did do is they gave themselves or allowed themselves to have enough cap space to match any offer sheet that came in. But who are they going to lose? What teams out there are going to essentially do Anaheim a favor and take on some of their contracts and some of their players and salary that they know that they have to dump to sign Cutter Gauthier? We'll see how that plays out. We'll talk with Jamal Mayers about that later on in the show. Looking forward to it. Trying to get an update on Connor McMichael. We'll have one for you hopefully by the end of the show. If we don't, you can blame me. I just really wasn't on top of that over the course of the last few days. Focusing on some other things. They're going to get him signed. I don't see it going to arbitration. I will say this about Connor McMichael. It is interesting that he and Jordan Kyrou had the same agent. So when that deal was made, it's always interesting the role that agents play in some of these trades and some of these big moves that you see happen in the NHL. I know the agents played a monster role in the offer sheets for Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. We talked about that at length. But, I would imagine Dave Gagne had some involvement trying to orchestrate a trade like that with Washington. So McMichael, his role maybe changed a little bit. His production certainly went down. And I like what Washington has done. You got to listen to the conversation Cam and I had with Alex Tuck. If you listen to Hockey Sense, and we appreciate all the people who are saying that they listen to the show. Um, I mean, our listeners are just climbing by the week, and we appreciate that. Here, as we have taken things to a podcast platform, we've done this show on radio for years and years, and now we're doing it on the podcast platform. So we appreciate the new listeners. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. But Connor McMichael, yeah, production went down. I like what Washington has done. If you haven't had a chance, go listen to Alex Tuck on the Cam and Strick podcast. Great conversation, fun, entertaining. We've got an unbelievable interview coming your way that's going to drop on Tuesday, by the way, on the Cam and Strick podcast. I'm not going to say who it is, and I'm not going to say who we have coming up the week after that, too. I want to keep those names secret for now, but we've got some really, really strong interviews coming up that I think you're going to enjoy. So McMichael and Kyrie, they've got the same agent. I would imagine McMichael will come in somewhere around $5.5 million per, is my guess. That's just an educated guess. And we'll see how that plays out. Tom Dundon. Hey, if you haven't listened to Tom Dundon, who joined Cam and I several years ago, we had him on the podcast. Very interesting. Well, we wanted to pick his brain. He was taking some heat back then for how he was making some decisions and running his NHL team. He just comes in, he does things his own way. This guy wasn't really a hockey guy. He also owns an NBA team. He lives in Dallas. He's got a team in Carolina. And he's ruffled some feathers, man. People have accused him of being cheap. He gets very, very involved in the negotiating. I'll talk to agents, and I'll be like, who are you negotiating with? Don Waddell? And this is back when Don Waddell was the GM. He'd be like, no, I'm talking straight with Tom Dundon. He's the one who's involved. So it's very frustrating for some agents because Dundon didn't always understand the NHL landscape, and he's a smart businessman, so it didn't take him a long time to figure it out, how the comps work and all that type of stuff. You can't just decide what you're going to pay a player, and that's the way it's going to work. It doesn't always work that way. It's kind of like buying a house. You can't just buy a house for the price that you want it for. There are comps regarding other houses that have sold in the area or in the neighborhood that basically determine the value of the particular property. And the same thing goes in hockey. So the value of a player is basically determined by the other players around the league who get paid. Similar comps, trying to compare one player to the next. So that's basically the situation there. Plus, he got rid of some broadcasters and did some things. Hey, doing things his way. You know, part of me says if you're the owner, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. This particular case with the Stanley Cup, getting all his family's names engraved on there. And it's not about all the family who are going to have their names engraved on the Stanley Cup forever. It's not just that. But it's the fact that there are people who had their name left off who deserve it. You know, part of the tradition and what's great about having the names on the Stanley Cup is the fact that equipment people get to put their name on there. These guys work their ass off. They work so hard. And they deserve it. They're all part of it. They're such a big part of winning. You know, the support cast that you have around. The team services people, the PR people, the medical people, they're all a part of it. And I don't think because you're the owner, and the owner's name should be on there. There's no doubt that the owner's name should be on there. And I know they're paying the checks and they're paying all the players, but it's just smart business people and good people in general don't just put themselves over everybody else. I think they value each individual who are under them, who contribute to the overall success of a company and in this case, a hockey team. So I didn't like it. I think the criticism that he's taking is certainly deserved. And again, we'll get Jammer's take on this. I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not, but the Blues, it doesn't sound like they're going to name a captain this year. I can't remember if I mentioned that or not. It sounds like they're going to go with multiple alternates. Maybe they'll have certain alternates for home and other alternates for the road. Maybe a couple guys who wear an A, regardless they're at home or on the road. Guys like Colton Parayko and Robert Thomas, I would imagine, would fall in that category. But it doesn't sound like they're going to hand out a C. And I think by not doing that, which is fine, um, I don't think you necessarily have to have one. I do like teams that have a C. I'm a big tradition guy. That's why I don't love the owner putting all his kids' names on the Stanley Cup and leaving off longtime trainers and leaving off players that played, a decent number of games for the team this season who've been working so hard to get to this point their entire career. And all of a sudden, you got a kid who's living in Dallas, Texas, who's the son or daughter of the owner who's like in grade school getting their name on the Stanley Cup. There's a reason why you don't ever see that. I know Vinny Viola, they're talking about Vinny Viola, the owner of the Florida Panthers. He had his kids' names engraved on the cup, but they are listed as alternate governors. Technically, they work with the team. So those are alternate governors of the team. There is a difference there. But man, and you hear about the old school, longtime owner of the former owner of the Edmonton Oilers putting his father's name on there. Then they X'd it out. This is interesting. Again, when you hear that the league isn't really all that involved in approving names and everything, I mean, this is where the league has to step in and get involved. How are you not involved? How is the Hall of Fame not involved? How are there no rules in regard to who you can put on? I mean, if you can put your kids on there who have no involvement in the organization other than the fact that their dad owns the team, what would stop them from putting their best friend on there? Their neighbor, their mentor, their godfather, their parents, whatever. We've already seen other owners try to put their parents on there. So I don't know. That's a weird one for me. I'm looking forward to the conversation with Jamal on that one, and we'll get into that heavily with Cam coming up on the Cam and Strick podcast. We've been trying to find some time to get some of these prospects on the show. We're going to have Alexander Steen on the show eventually. We'll get Tynan Lawrence and some of these guys to jump on with us too. So those interviews are coming throughout the course of the summer. I think I'm going to take next week off. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be on vacation. A lot of times I'll bring my stuff with me and we'll do it, but I just don't know if the timing's going to work next week to be able to do the show next Friday. So we may pick things back up 2 weeks from today after today's show. Dakota Mermis is on today's show, man. And if you're a fan of St. Louis hockey or been around St. Louis hockey for a long time, you should know who Dakota Mermis is. Undrafted, came into the NHL or to professional hockey with the Arizona Coyotes organization. His resume, I mean, you talk about a winner. This guy just continues to win. He won a USHL championship. He won, I believe, 3 OHL championships and a Memorial Cup. He just won a American League championship with the Toronto Marlies. He's played games in the NHL each of the last 8 years or something like that. And he's overcome some serious injuries. He had a lot of injuries this season that kind of plagued his year. He's got another year left on his contract. Signed a 2-year deal with Toronto last year. Played games with the Leafs this year. So I'm looking forward to the conversation with Dakota. So we'll do that in a few minutes here on Hockey Sense. Brought to you by First Community. Do your banking the right way. Do it with First Community. FirstCommunity.com. Find the branch nearest you. Sign your son or daughter up for the Little Blues program. It's the best program going to introduce your son or daughter to the game of ice hockey. You get all your equipment, skates, stick, helmet, everything. You don't have to go to the hockey store and, what do I need? I'm not exactly sure what I need. Well, you don't have to do that. Little Blues, you just sign up. And guess what? All the equipment shipped to your front door, and you have it when you go for your first skate. You can do a couple of sessions, ages 4 through 9. If you haven't played organized hockey before, then get your son or daughter signed up for Little Blues. I did it with my son. It's the best way to introduce them to ice hockey. So do that and do it today with the Little Blues program, brought to you by First Community. Dirt cheap, fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app today. Get free delivery. You download the app and you live within 10 miles of a dirt cheap location. Don't sleep on their party supplies, the paper goods. They got the best selection of beer, wine, and booze anywhere. They've got an incredible walk-in beer cooler. It's been so hot this past week in St. Louis. Go hang out in the beer cooler. It's the only place to really get cool here in St. Louis. Dirt cheap, several locations, unbelievable deals, but they're only available on the app. So you got to download the app, and there you can see all the great sales and the great deals that they have. The deals are so good they call them steals, and discounts on Blues game day when we get into the Blues season. By the way, the schedule coming out on July 16th, next week, next Thursday. So looking forward to seeing that officially, what that schedule will look like for the 26-27 season. Dirt cheap, fun, your one-stop party shop. Blue Note Roofing, storm damage, only one person to call, and that's David Novak, 314-920-5713. You see the sign behind me, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Gutters, soffit, fascia, whatever it is you're looking for. He'll help you. Roofing. If that roof's getting older, go get that free estimate, get that new roof. But again, if you have hail damage, storm damage, a lot of crazy storms this past week, wind damage, let them come out and take care of you. That includes people all the way down in Springfield, Ozarks, wherever you are. 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Lordo's Diamonds, get that special someone something special in your life. Lordo's Diamonds. Best selection of engagement rings. Best selection of diamond jewelry. They got great men's watches, too. Men's jewelry. Incredible. Right there in the heart of Ladue. 314-432-8008. You can't miss it. Been around for 70 years. Are you kidding me? Mike and Jimmy Lordo. They're the best. We love you guys over there, and thanks for the support that you give us here on Hockey Sense. Again, 314-432-8008. Give them a call, set up an appointment, or just stop on in and say hi to everybody. Pat, Cindy, the whole crew over there at Lordo's Diamonds, right next to Truffles. Can't miss it, right there in the heart of Ladue. Lordo's Diamonds. And St. Louis Lawn Care. St. Louis Lawn Care has turned my life upside. It's unbelievable. Everyone wants to have a nice yard. You never realize how nice your yard can look until you get your grass cut by St. Louis Lawn Care. They are truly incredible. And there's so many different things they can do. My yard looks like Petco Park right now. It's so nice. Do you know where the Padres play? You ever look at their outfield, how nice it is? They do the lawn mowing. They've got a fertilizer program as well, so ask about that. Sod installation. If you need new grass, you want your grass looking beautiful, get that sod installed. Snow removal. So make sure you check out stllawncare.com and program that into your phone so you have it when we get dumped on in the winter with snow. They mulch, aeration, the St. Louis, the overseeding, which you need for it's a key piece to achieving that beautiful lawn. You know that. Leaf removal as we get into the fall. And then my favorite, the mosquito and bug control. I had people over at the house last night. We were in the hot tub. We're hanging out. Hot tub, by the way, by Spas and More. And we got no bugs. There's no bugs biting us. And people are like, hey, where's the mosquitoes out here? Well, I've got St. Louis Lawn Care. STLLawnCare.com. So, again, let them spray your backyard and your front yard, and you won't have any bugs. All right, let's take a break. Dakota Mermis will join us next here on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. I'm looking forward to it. Great conversation ahead with Dakota. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back into the show. Dakota Mermis, Alton's finest from the 1994 birth year here in St. Louis hockey, man. Welcome back, Dakota. Great to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on here, District. It's always good to get back in here and see you guys.
All you do is win. You just keep winning. And I'm trying to go over all your championships in my head. Green Bay. And I know you won a couple of OHL championships where you didn't win the Memorial Cup, like London maybe, and there may be. So 3 OHL championships, I want to say. 1 Memorial Cup with Oshawa. And then now on top of that, you win an American League title. I mean, that's a great career, Dakota. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was the 2 OHL. The 1 year we hosted in London, and we actually had the best junior team that I maybe played on, but we didn't win. So yeah, the USHL, the 2 OHL Memorial Cup, and then a little bit of a layoff when I got to pro, and the Calder Cup. Unfortunately, I'm still chasing that the big shiny one. that gets handed out. But I don't know, maybe if I age down a little bit, I'll buy myself some more time.
It's gonna happen, and you keep yourself in great shape. You're at first form right now, working out. You're 32. You've got at least 6 years left, Dakota. Maybe
At
7.
least, at least I keep telling all the guys like I'm only getting better with age. Like I'm still on the rise.
Really, you feel like
So
you feel good
yeah.
like that? I know you had some injuries this year. We'll get into that, but like, how is the body holding up?
Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely differences from obviously when you're young, as everyone says. Like, and I've said this before. Like when I was younger in my career, I didn't quite understand. Like, why do guys get into like their 30s and maybe they get a little slower, this or that, and I think it's just like the combo, just the all the injuries kind of building up,
Yeah.
and you got scar tissue here and you got scar tissue there, and you just don't heal as fast. Like you're in like tweak your groin, and like 2 days later you're good. You don't feel it. Where now it just like lingers and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But no, like overall, like I feel good. Like I've had the last couple years, in the first 10 years of my career, I was lucky where I really didn't. I had some injuries, some that, one that needed surgery, but I was always able to play with my injuries. Um, where the last couple of years, I've had some bigger ones that I've had to miss time, which has been an adjustment for me in my career. But no, overall, like I feel good. Like I continue to like kind of educate myself when it comes to training and nutrition, and I have access to good facilities, and something that I've really grown to like take a lot of pride in is training. Like I really enjoy training and kind of the work that goes into being an athlete, and so yeah, like I feel good. You get the little, after a long playoff run, there's a lot of just like little things that you need to get in to get treated. And obviously you got to be very aggressive with it because of the short off season. But no, overall, I feel like I just keep getting better. I keep getting more educated. I keep, adjusting my training and to make it work for me to be my best.
Yeah, you had a crazy year this year because you took that hit. It's a questionable hit, lower body hit. I think the guy got kicked out of the game, 5 minute major, whatever. Trying to remember who it
Yeah.
was, but do you ever play against him again? By the way.
No, so that was actually my last game that I played in the NHL this year, which is unfortunate. Yeah, that one actually is. I'm a little bitter about that one. Um, Thought that was a bad hit and
Yeah.
knocked me out. I tore my MCL and was out for 7 weeks, and he got to show up the next night and get back in the lineup, and then of course we have our captain go down with a knee injury, later on in the season, and you hear the player safety talk about how they don't take into account who the player is that gets injured, but they take into account the injury and then the severity of the hit. And so yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bitter that there wasn't some consequence for that because I haven't played in the NHL since. And
Mm.
but yeah, it was for me, like and I was really coming in. I was stringing some games together at that point in the lineup. I'd been up, but in and out of the lineup, and um, so that I really was starting to build some momentum, as I was playing in that game, and then leading into that. And so that one was, that was really frustrating for me to then miss the time after that, especially at that point in the season when we were with the Leafs trying to, kind of right the ship. Things hadn't been going well, and things at that point were starting to roll a little bit better. And you obviously want to be in the lineup and a part of that when things turn. And unfortunately, I had to miss some time with that.
Yeah. How was your relationship with Chief?
I really liked him. I thought he was great. He's a very good coach. Very as a depth guy, sometime different. And this is with his whole staff too. Mike Van Ryn I'd worked with for a long time, dating back to Arizona.
Lalonde?
Derek Bond, yeah, it was. I mean, I've had a long history with him. He recruited me to college, and then was my coach in Green Bay when we won. And so, I think very highly of him. So there was always good communication with me, whether I was in the lineup or out of the lineup. And Chief style, kind of a hard straight line. Like I'm a guy that does really well. Like I'm not Austin Matthews. I'm not Willie Nylander, where I'm creating and trying to do things outside of our system. Like I've made a career on being very good in a system and doing the system to a T. So yeah, I loved working with Chief. I would regularly, get in the sauna after practice, and he'd be in there on the spin bike, just sweating in the bike, and we'd shoot the shit a little bit in there or whatever. But yeah, sad to see him go. He was a great coach. These things happen obviously all the time in the NHL, and but yeah, I really enjoyed playing for him.
Would he talk St. Louis with you? I mean, he'd tell you
Oh yeah.
how much he liked it here. He loved it here.
Yeah, he loves it, man. He loves St. Louis. I think he keeps in contact with a lot of people here. He's like, has a connection out, and he brought a Stanley Cup to the city that the city was craving. for so long. So, anytime you win, but like that championship in 2019, you can tell as someone who grew up in St. Louis how much it meant to the city. And, he was the guy that came in and got that team over the hump, especially with how that season went. And then, and really with how our season was going to start our, at least this year, he was, you could look at him and be like, this is a guy that came in with a team that was at the bottom of the standings and turned around and is Stanley Cup champions. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. It's hard to do, but no, he obviously speaks very highly of St. Louis, and I'm sure we'll be back here.
Are you the same player like when you're coming up? I mean, everyone's kind of offensive, and obviously the star player on the team, and then you get to the U.S. program, you hit college, you get to the OHL, and then throughout the course of your professional career, what's the biggest adjustments you've made to be able to last as long as you have, and to be able to still to carve out the career? Have you had to make adjustments? Is your style of play right now kind of what you thought you would be when you first turned pro?
As I started to turn pro, I would say I started to have more of a feel that this was kind of what I was going to be. Definitely not like as I was coming through, midgets and into the US program and junior, like I was much more like high flying offense. And I don't want to say that from like I was, Makar or anything like that, but like I was very more active offensively. I think when I went to London and played for the Hunters was when they kind of were like, you need to up your defensive. I always played hard, but like needed to learn more defensive details and kind of learn more detail to be a professional on the defensive side of games. And then as that progressed, and I went to Oshawa playing for DJ Smith, I just continued to really grow my defensive game and just being a steady, like hard puck moving, join the offense when it's there. But really where I've made my career, I think is again, like being able to like play a specific system, a detailed system very well and very consistently. And allow other guys that I'm playing with to, to kind of take more risks maybe than I do. And I think that's really been a big part of my longevity in my career professionally is being able to adjust to different systems, but being able to be very detailed in those systems and being very hard defensively. Being able to kind of play, when someone's against me, being able to play a number of different ways, skate myself out of trouble defensively, being able to move the puck up the ice and be very just like hard to play against, whether that's fighting at certain times or just being physical and just being into guys all the time is, I think, what's really allowed me to have success in my career. And kind of, I'm going into year 12 now, which, I wasn't drafted. I didn't really know what my pro career was going to look like if I was even going to have one. And I think that's a big part of that. And then a lot of the intangibles that I've kind of grown, leadership qualities through along the way. Obviously, as a guy that plays American League and in the NHL, you have to be very versatile and you have to be able to adapt. You have to bring so much more than just a product on the ice. And so I feel like I've been able to kind of learn and grow myself that way as well.
Yeah, so I mean, you played NHL games. I mean, each of the last 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it is. I mean, you've been around now for a while, and you find a way to get up to the NHL. You know, I'm curious what you learned from the Hunters specifically. When you went to London and you look back at that experience being in London and playing for them, like, what do you take away from that?
Like I said, I took a lot. I mean, they kind of, even when I first went there, like I was a power play guy at that point in my career. Went there, I had a ton of success offensively. I think if I remember right, now it's been, whatever, 13 years ago now, but, I went in there and I was producing a lot of points and, and the OHL produces more points than, in college and stuff like that. But, they at some point, Mark had, I always had this like impression that Dale was like, I'd always talk to Mark. I'd never talked to Dale. That, like Dale was the hard one and Mark was, but boy, was I wrong. Like Dale, and he will still be hard on guys, but Mark is who you got to watch out for. He will rip your ass apart. But he like, kind of pulled me aside. Like we really need, like, we're going to take you off the power play because we're going to build your defensive game. And, and I had trust in those guys in going there that they would, be able to help guide me in that way. They produced so many HLers year after year. Our teams, while I was there, was a big part of why I ended up going there. We're so good. I mean, if you look at our rosters from some of those teams, like, I mean, you just go down the list of HLers. So, I mean, they know how to recruit. They know how to pull different, but they're hard. Like some guys don't do well in that, and they end up on different teams. And But like I said, I'm a guy that does really well when I know what is expected of me. When communication is high and I know, okay, you want me to do this. All right, I'm going to do this very, very well. And so playing for them, I learned a lot about how to translate my game, my minor hockey game and my junior game into a professional game.
Hmm. Yeah, you had some great players in those London teams, man. I mean, Mitch Marner was on those teams. I think Christian Dvorak. I mean, you can tell me who else was on there. You missed Matty Tkachuk by a year. I think he came in the following year after you left and turned pro, I guess, right?
Yeah, after I completely aged out of junior, maxed out my time. Yeah, he came in the next year. But yeah, I mean, we had like, Max Domi, Bo Horvat, Chris Tierney, Josh Anderson, Marner, Dvorak, Zadorov, Oli Mata, Anthony Stolarz was our goalie. Um, and I know I'm missing some very notable names within that too. So we had some great teams. So our reps in practice were really good. And then, our teams were exceptional on the ice, and it's obviously the best atmosphere you can play in junior hockey. So you learn kind of the pro atmosphere as well.
You guys keep in touch? I mean, like when you see each other, like is there a bond that you're able to create from your junior hockey days where you feel like you're still friends with the guys that you played with when you were a teenager?
Yeah, 100%. And the hard part is that you play against these guys, and like these are other teams' top players, and like so you're battling with these guys too. But like you always kind of come around after games, of course, and like especially the teams that you've won with. And that's like to include my team in Austria when we won the Memorial Cup. You have such a bond with these guys when you win. And it's also fun, now we were running around in junior, doing crazy things, having fun. And now, we're married and have kids, and it's just a totally different dynamic. But like you look at the guy when you see him and you're like, we feel like we're that same guy. And so, it's just a different part of our life. But yeah, you have so much fun. And then you end up playing with some of the guys too. Like, in Toronto, Anthony Stolarz was my roommate in London. We lived together. And then of course, Max Domi and, so there's different guys that then you come back around with and play with again in your career, which is really fun. The guys that can have the longevity and stick around.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Not getting drafted. Like, did you expect to get drafted? And how did you overcome the disappointment of not hearing your name called? And when did you start get a feel that you were going to be able to sign an NHL deal? Was it before you went to Oshawa, or was it during the OHL playoffs and the Memorial Cup that year where you started getting some attention from NHL teams? Like, how'd that all play out?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely, I had a pretty good year. My first draft year, I had 3 draft years where I didn't get drafted, but I had a pretty good year and felt like, I might be a mid-round pick. I was listed on the Central Scouting, but, I had no idea. I wasn't, a first-round pick by any means. And so, yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't, extremely disappointed. It helps get you in the door with the team, and didn't even end up going to a development camp or anything my first year. Went back to London and didn't really know. Like, I mean, I always believed in myself, and that is another reason I think I've been able to stick around in pro. And, I've had far from a Hall of Fame career, but like I carved out a decent career that I'm proud of and continue to grow. And, but I kind of always believed in myself, and, and you do, like it's like people said, you don't compare yourself to this guy. Well, I do. Like I compare myself to the guy I'm trying to be, because I want to know how I'm going to beat him. And so, I knew it was going to be a long process. And, even through pro and, people always say, trust the process. And, I think through my draft, to be honest, I really don't trust the process, but I trust me. And so I trust my work and my ability to beat whoever at any given time. And so yeah, I guess kind of answer your question. I didn't really know what my pro career might look like. I, still had the dream of maybe being able to play in the NHL and make money playing hockey. But as I got through and I went to one of the greatest things that happened to me, I think, was going to Oshawa my overage year. I'd gone to Arizona's development camp the year before and went back to junior for an overage season. And Basil was our GM, Basil McRae in London at the time. Mark was in Toronto at that time. And so they kind of had the opportunity to go to Oshawa. And at the time I thought, man, if I don't know, like if I can't sign a contract here in London, am I going to be able to go to Oshawa and sign a contract? And it was honestly the best thing I think I've done in my career is go to Oshawa for 4 months and go on a run there. And DJ Smith, I can't say enough about how like important he was for my career. and how much he did for me, um, and put me in all the situations. And, I got to play, we played Erie in the finals, and that was McDavid's draft year. So he was exceptional. And I just got to keep proving myself against some of the top people. And I think at the end of that run in the OHL, I kind of had just accepted that maybe I wasn't going to sign pro, but I'm just going to go all out and just have fun and just enjoy this, like what could be the end of my hockey playing career. And then ultimately, after we won the Memorial Cup, it was kind of a late deal. Like, I mean, I still didn't really have a lot of bites, hadn't heard much. Had some American League offers that I was kind of like, I don't know, like I can be a sticky slow. Maybe I'll just go back to finish school and finish my degree. And then Arizona came with what they called an opportunity contract on my entry level. I don't think they really wanted to sign me to an NHL deal at the time, but gave me like a low end entry level contract, and decided to take that. And again, just kind of keep trusting myself and my ability and my work and my mindset that, I'm just going to keep going and beating and winning. And because I fundamentally believe that winning is everything in whatever you're doing. And the process of, like, there's no guarantee you're going to win, but the process to try to give yourself the best chance to is, obviously important. And I just think through that, once I got my entry level contract, I felt like, okay, now I'm in a door somewhere where somebody has something invested in me, where before I was just a free agent invite here, free agent invite there. And I knew once I got in somewhere, and my game's not necessarily one that like jumps out at you. You don't watch the game, not like when I was a peewee, where you don't watch the game and just be like, wow. But if you watch consistently, and then within the organization, when you see the behind the scenes and the little things, and I think it starts to grow on people, what you're doing. And so at that point, once I was in an organization, I felt like I could, make a career for myself.
Talk about your Pee Wee game, Dakota. We want to hear how good you were in Pee. I remember watching you back then. Actually, man, yeah, you were damn good. But again, it's like a lesson for like all these kids right now who are dominating at a young age too. You eventually got to like learn how to play different styles and fit in with different teams and kind of do what you're being asked to do. You can't always play the way you want to play.
Yeah, no, and like you can get away with, when you're younger. Obviously, there's guys that I was more skilled than other players when I was very young, and but I had a strong drive at that point too, for sure. But that's that pyramid that you hear talked about all the time. Like the higher you get at the level, I mean, it just gets tighter and tighter. Everybody's the best player, and you just have to keep finding ways to adapt. And there's so many players, whether it's through junior or into pro, maybe they sign an NHL contract, that just die off because they can't adapt. They can't figure out how to change their game, even from year to year when you have different coaches with different styles. How can you adapt? And like I said, I'm very fortunate with how I grew up, that I felt like I was taught a very strong mindset growing up, and the ability to be able to adapt. And even like in my first, I was 4 years with Arizona at the start of my career, and we had 2 different NHL coaches, 4 different American League coaches. I had a different American League coach every year, as well as different management. So I like was constantly having to almost start over the next year and figure out, okay, how can I make myself valuable to this group that I'm with now? And again, I just continue to kind of build that resiliency. And then the more you do it and the more you have success with that, you can just compound that, your experiences, and how can you make yourself more valuable on the ice, off the ice, to an organization, no matter what your role is within that organization, to ultimately try to win championships and win a Stanley Cup, which again is still something I hope to chase.
I've gotten to know your dad pretty well too when he was coaching with the AAA Blues. And what kind of influence did he's so serious at the rink, and then you get to know him away from the rink, and he's got a great personality, and he likes to have fun and have a good time as well. But what kind of hockey dad was he with you? I mean, how much influence has he had in your career?
Yeah, I mean, a ton of influence. He's the reason that my brother and I, got into hockey. He didn't grow up playing hockey necessarily. He lived in Boston when he was in middle school for a little bit, and when the Bruins were and Bobby Orr were, everything. And so that's what got his kind of love for hockey. And then, my older brother started playing, I started playing, and, I was at the rink all the time as the younger brother. But no, he was like great. I mean, I learned so much of the fundamentals, and even now, like in the summertime, I still like to bring him out on the ice with me at times just to help me with some fundamentals and a lot of stuff that, as you get into pro, sometimes you kind of turn your back on a little bit because you're so focused on these advanced techniques and all that stuff. And sometimes just like a baseball player, hitting off the tee, that kind of thing, just to get back to the fundamentals. And, he's a teacher by trade, and then obviously coached for a long time. So, yeah, I still have, a lot of, questions that, again, he has a great way of simplifying things, which helped me a lot when I was growing up, obviously. And then I still just appreciate that because in the pro landscape, sometimes things can get so complicated and so overwhelming that it's good to just simplify techniques or different stuff like that. And he's very well researched too. Like when I'll give him so much credit for, whether it was with me or with his teams, like, nobody worked harder for his players to get into the top tournaments or to expose and have opportunity. And so, yeah, so I owe a lot to both my parents. I mean, with where we, as where we lived in the St. Louis area, there was a lot of commutes. And I mean, my mom too, like how many miles she put on her car going over. They both worked on the St. Louis side. We're on the Illinois side, north of it. And how many miles my mom would put on the car, driving to work in the morning, come back to get me, drop me off in Chesterfield, go back to work. I mean, both of my parents obviously have such a big influence on my, my upbringing, of course, and my career. And, so thankful for them that they gave me the opportunities, to do something like this. And I'm glad I could, kind of pay it back by making it worth it.
Yeah, I love hearing that. All right, so you play against Connor McDavid in junior, and then obviously you played against him in the NHL, and then you're teammates with guys like Mitch Marner and junior, and then you play against him in the NHL. Does their game change like in junior versus the NHL? I know we're talking about elite players here and dominant players, but what's it like playing these guys in junior versus when you get to the professional level? How much does their game change?
I think they're always evolving again with how the game evolves, with how the game's called. There's so many things that they have to adapt to. Those superstar guys, though, I mean, like they're the the outlier, of course, with the things they can do. And it almost just like they're the same player, but they just take it just 10 steps further, as they get older. Like when Mitch came in as a 16-year-old in London, I mean, you knew he was very small at the time, but like you could see the skill, but just built up such a, I don't know, he just built his game so much more. Like, I mean, defensively, he just doesn't get talked about enough for how like good defensively he is too. So again, I think those guys continue to evolve. They try to work on things that can give them that little bit of an edge because the margins are so small. And I think those superstar players find a way to expose the margins better than other guys.
Yeah. Who's had the most influence on your career? Is there a veteran guy who took you under their wing, or that you really patterned your game after, or you watched, or you lived with, or you roomed with? Who's a guy or two that you
like say there's one guy like because of how kind of all over I'd been a little bit at times and the movement within pro hockey. There's so many guys that I appreciate. I always loved like watching like Andy Green. I played with him for a very short time when I was in New Jersey before he went to the Islanders. And like Russell and Chris Russell, these guys like that, and Russell too was like, I'm not a huge guy. He wasn't a huge guy, but kind of plays a similar game to how I play. Like he's very strong, was very strong defensively and block shots and kill penalties and could do that all undersized. But no, like personally, like I just think there's so many guys that like I've always thought too, and that's something that I developed like even like growing up, like you look around the people that you surround yourself with, or people that you're around, and like you can learn so much from everyone, whether that's learning good things or bad things. And so I feel like I've been influenced by a number of guys that I've lived with or played with, some good and some bad, that where I've, kind of learned, okay, this is not, I mean, you talk about when you're young and like trying to learn from good pros, and sometimes in the American League, you have good pros and sometimes you don't. And, you'll kind of learn that early on. So I don't know. I feel like I've kind of grasped things, try to take things good and bad from kind of everyone I'm around, and just try to piece together what I feel is the best way forward.
All right, so you win the Calder Cup this year with Toronto. Like, how much excitement was there in the market, in the city? Like, did the whole? I mean, they love hockey so much. Did the hockey fans rally around what you guys were doing?
Yeah, you know what, they actually did, and that's something that we we were extremely blessed to play in a market like that in the American League, and in an organization like that that really go. I mean, you get a very much an NHL experience playing the AHL with how you're treated and everything, and it was really fun to see. And in that city, obviously, has been craving championships and anything. The Jays losing in Game 7 in the World Series, and the Leafs being so good but not being able to win for a while now. They've really, I've been craving something like that. And it was really, we talked about it, just how cool it was to be in an AHL market like this and win versus being in one of those smaller AHL markets. As we were, celebrating, had the Calder Cup downtown with us on patios and here and there, like people were coming up constantly to get pictures and to thank us and to say how fun it was. They were at the game 5 or game 4, whatever games they were at, and it was really cool to experience that there and just see. And then in our building too, like our building was just packed. I mean, it felt like they sold more seats than and tickets. It was standing room only, but I mean, it just like you walked in and every suite was packed, every seat was full. People were standing up along on the whole top of the arena. So you could really feel like how excited Toronto was, and they made it so much fun during and then after while we were celebrating too.
Where'd you guys play your home games? Like what rink?
At Coca-Cola Coliseum, so
Okay.
it's just on the edge of kind of downtown by the soccer stadium, and this an exhibition place is this area that's called. So it's like got the soccer convention center and then Coca-Cola Coliseum. But it's an old building that they of course have renovated. But I think built like in the early 1900s. So it's
Wow.
a perfect American League lower bowl, um, perfect size. I think probably 8,500 or 8,000 or so, probably way more than that when they packed it in like we did. But
Mm.
it's a great setup for us.
And just a few more things for you, man. You've been great. I appreciate it. John Gruden, who's now been elevated as an assistant coach in Toronto, who you just obviously won with. And I think you had 10 points in 24 games, something like that. So you had a big role on the team. What kind of coach is Toronto getting on the bench there as an assistant?
Drew's was great. He's very much he's very personable. Very he really let the players run the room, which I think was very important. And he gave us and our whole stack. Mike Dick was our D coach, and Giordano was on the bench as well. But yeah, Gruge really, we had a strong core of older players that played in the NHL. We had a good leadership group to steer the room the right way, and then Grudes was awesome about giving the style of play and then the tactics, but really letting the players run the room and let the older guys run the room and make sure the room is ready. So yeah, he's going to be great. The guys are going to love him. He's fun to play for. He's personable. He is modern. Again, he's easy to talk to. He's not the guy that you walk by in the hallway and you don't say hi. Like
Yeah.
he'll chat up with you, ask how the family's doing. Really, really enjoyed playing for him, and I'm glad that he's staying in the organization, and we'll get to hopefully work with him with the Leafs as well.
I love how you had a John Gruden and a Mike Ditka on your.
Mike Dick, yeah, yeah. But if we could be in the full Mike Dick, that would have been wild. No, it's funny. Last year when I went to Utah, so Gruden's, I had John Gruden with the Marlies, but then I ended up getting traded or picked up on waivers by Utah.
Yeah.
And then I had John Madden um, in Utah. Is hilarious.
That's funny. That was crazy for you, real quick, though, right? You get put on waivers because you have to clear waivers. They're trying to bring you up, weren't they? To
So it was so I
because you were
so that
you were
that
on
was
a
my starting.
conditioning assignment or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So in training camp, it was my first year with Toronto 2 years ago. I took a puck to the face and like shattered this whole part of my face, like my
A
jaw.
slap shot.
And, it was a wrist shot that deflected up,
Oh,
unfortunately. But yeah, so I had a pretty big jaw surgery that night, and I missed. I was out until kind of the beginning of December. And so, yeah, I went on conditioning originally, came back, and then they put me on waivers to keep playing games. And then ended up getting claimed by Utah. They had some injuries at the time, and
and they knew
yeah,
you, right?
yeah, exactly. I'd been with Arizona in my career, and they were familiar with me, and had spent that whole last year pretty much in the NHL with Minnesota. So had been in the league full year, pretty much leading up to that. So um, yeah, I went there for I don't know a month or so. There I started getting a little bit healthy, and ended up back on waivers in Toronto. claim me back. And so I ended up back in Toronto in middle of January or something like that. And yeah, I don't know, it's crazy. I mean, when I look at my journey, and I'm really glad it's a fun thing to look back on and to go experience Utah and their inaugural season. Place is awesome. They're doing everything awesome and right. And so it's fun, but yeah, I definitely made some. I mean, my wife's unbelievable. Like she, with the kids, just sorting all of it out and just making sure that when I'm at the rink, I can and do what I need to do. But and she takes care of the rest. But I mean, I had a few challenges. You think you're going to Toronto and had a little stability between AHL and NHL and teams in the same city, and the next thing you know, you're flying to Utah and moving cities for what ended up only being a month, but we didn't know at the time what it was going to look like. And then moving back to Toronto. Yeah, it's all kind of part of the journey that, I look back and I'm glad I get to do a lot of these things.
Well, congrats on winning another title, man. Like, you get rings for all these championships. You got a USHL ring, you got the Memorial Cup ring, you got the 2 OHL rings, and now you have an American League ring, right?
Yeah. We'll hopefully get that at the beginning of the season there for the ceremony. And yeah, let's keep it. Like I said, there's one that I always dreamt about winning that I have not won. And so, I'm 32 now. I wish I could age down a little bit, but I hope that, maybe I'll have an opportunity to keep pushing forward and add at least one more.
Well, you keep yourself in great shape, man. You've had a great career, and I know you got plenty of hockey left. So, looking forward to following your journey again, man. I was so happy to see that you won again. Like there's certain guys you pull for. You're definitely one of them, Dakota. So, keep it going, man. Go get your workout in. Thanks for doing this, and I'm sure we'll see you at some point this summer.
Yes, absolutely, Strix, man. Thanks for having me on. It was fun. Appreciate what you guys do for all the guys in St. Louis too, man. You're the best.
All right, you're the best, man. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Dakota. All right, so that was Dakota Mermis, man. I always love catching up with Dakota. He's one of my favorites. Just a great guy. You can tell in the interview. So well spoken, earned everything he's gotten throughout the course of his career, and he's got lots of hockey left. I remember watching him play for the first time. I think he was probably 14. He was playing for Afton Central States at the time. His dad was coaching. I was coaching with the 1994 AAA Blues. I had Chase Berger and a bunch of other kids who moved on and played some good hockey as well at high levels. Chase went to Penn State, played professionally overseas. But he and Dakota were kind of the two big dogs in St. Louis hockey at the time. And I remember watching Dakota play and then getting to know his dad and watching Dakota when he came over to the AAA Blues and then following his career, man. He's a good one. And Toronto's lucky to have him. He'll be back in Toronto this year, and I just hope he gets more and more opportunities to play in the National Hockey League. All right. Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Got lots more to come. Jamal Mayers is going to be coming up, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. Lots to get into with Jamal. We're going to talk no trade clauses and all that type of stuff with him. Mako in Kirkwood. Better get Mako. I'm telling you, locally owned since 1982. Their staff has more than 100 years of combined experience in the collision repair and auto painting industry. More than 75 years combined experience at the Kirkwood location. So they know what they're doing. Specifically at the Kirkwood location, a retail shop that prioritizes quality, service, and value. I love it. Here's what they specialize in: cosmetic collision repair and auto painting. So I took my wife's car there, a couple of things, fender benders, hitting curbs, all that type of stuff. You wouldn't even know it now. Fully capable of repairing any collision damage. They focus on drivable hits. So if your car is totaled or you can't drive it, don't take it to Mako. And the reason why they do this, they want to get cars in and out. So when you drop your car off there, you're not waiting for several weeks to get it back. You get it back very, very quickly. So the turnaround process with repairs is done as quick as possible. They've got great working relationships with all the insurance providers, all the fleet companies as well. Get that written estimate. You can do it by phone. You can do it online. To stop by Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. And they offer that best price guarantee. Nationwide warranty on all Class A insurance repairs as long as you own the vehicle. Free local pickup and delivery available by appointment. So they'll do that for you too. It's amazing, everything they do over there at Mako in Kirkwood. Better get Mako. Again, First Community, sign your son or daughter up for the Little Blues program or find a program that best suits your financial needs. They've got several different banking options. Stop by First Community today, find the branch nearest you, and let them take incredible care of you. Glenn Barks and company, Laura, everybody over there. We love the support they give us here on Hockey Sense. Of course, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Give David Novak a call today. Get that new roof. You have storm damage. One number to call in St. Louis, and that's David Novak, 314-920-5713 for David Novak. And, of course, STLLawnCare.com, all our great sponsors. All right, Jamal Mayers is next. Lots to get into with Jammer. We'll talk with Jammer next, and then we'll wrap things up on this edition of Hockey Sense. I'm Andy Strickland. Thanks for hanging out. All right, always good to have Jammer join us. Lots to get into. I don't even know where to start. Did Rocky Wirtz put his entire kids and everybody on the Stanley Cup when you guys won the cup in Chicago?
No, and you know what? Fortunate for them, they had 3 opportunities within 6 years to put names on the cup. So, yeah, that's a really delicate situation. I think that there are probably some people that were very well deserving that were left off. When you own the team, you get to do a lot of the things that you want to do.
I just feel like the NHL sometimes is in the dark, though. It's like this happens and the people reach out to the league and they're like, well, we didn't know. We didn't see the list. And you reach out to the Hall of Fame. Well, we hadn't seen the list until first time we saw it is when it was engraved. It's like, who's looking at it? Not to say anybody should be able to I mean, listen, this guy bought the team. He should be able to do what he wants to do, whether you agree with it or not. That's a whole different. That's a whole different topic.
I guess I'll offer this. There are very specific rules for players that are on the team.
Yeah, right.
To get on the cup, right?
You got to play a game in the final, or you got to have 41 or 42 games played in the regular season.
Yes, and you have to be petitioned by the team.
Delorier was petitioned by the team,
right?
And
as he should.
And I believe you may have been.
Well, they didn't have to petition or anything like that. They just put me on.
But didn't Johnny Taves?
But he had a very nice gesture. He was unknowing in how it worked because I think it was a lockout year. I played 19 games out of 42.
So they had a different formula there.
Yeah, it didn't. I had to have played 21 games or a game in the final.
Got it.
I'm not going to digress the situation into almost playing a game in the final, but that's for another day. But yeah, at one of the parties that we had, Johnny did say that, that he mentioned that to Stan, that he don't put captain, make sure Jammer's name gets on
to leave more room.
Yeah,
but you only allowed 50 names.
I guess there wasn't an issue. I thought there would. I honestly thought there was.
So I think for people who are saying, "Oh, this is so embarrassing," listen, I get it, and on the surface, it's corny. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're just kind of like, come on, like slow it down. Like the kid who lives in Dallas, who's going to grade school, it had nothing to do with the team winning the Stanley Cup. And you had some players who played significant games during the regular season who were left off. You had a trainer who's been there since the very beginning. And the day he was with Hartford before they came to Carolina. And he went down to part-time this year after all these years of working. He did not travel during the regular season, but he did travel during the playoffs. He worked every game during the playoffs. That's a tough one. I mean, you've been around since day one. Now, he does have his name on the cup, I would imagine, from 2006, I would think. But still, I just find that one, sometimes the owner, I would think everybody's got to get together. I would think the coach and the GM would be like, hey, these people need to have their names on there. And the PR guy didn't get his name on there, who's been with the team for over 20 years. Team services people. And listen, you know how important those people are to the team. They may not play in the game, but they're important.
I think you got it right. I think what I mean by that is I think that there needs to be some kind of checks and balances because the owner is not going to listen to anybody, right? Not within the organization. He's the owner. I think you're right. It has to come from the league. All it takes is Bill Daly. Bill Daly could be the person.
Yeah.
Takes a look at the list, says, what about this guy and this guy? And then makes a call to the president. It just takes one phone call.
Yeah.
Call to the owner, gets off the phone, calls the president. Are we missing anybody that's in your staff that should be on here that you want to advocate for? And then that maybe gets 2 or 3 of those people that you're
Yeah.
thinking of
Yeah.
on there.
But I would think Jordan Stahl, Rod Brindamore. I mean, I'm surprised they weren't able to push for certain
No,
people, unless they didn't even know.
No, they didn't know.
They had no idea.
They didn't know. But let's make sure you
Yeah.
understand.
There's no way.
They had no idea to know.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
on their
No
list of things. That's not on their
radar. No.
radar and understanding. In fact, I can probably, you'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Rod and Stahl found out that certain players aren't on there, and they're confused why they wouldn't be on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're aware.
He'll come. Rod, he's very opinionated, and he doesn't really hide too much, and he has no reason to. Like, he's got. What's he gonna hide? What are they going to do to him? You gonna fire him? He'll tell you.
He'll make 6 times as much.
Yeah, exactly. And he'll tell you, and he'll come out and say, "Hey, listen, this was wrong, or this wasn't wrong, or we had no idea, or I had no idea." Somebody's gonna ask him.
Yeah.
I was talking about Connor McMichael. He's got to get his deal done. Restricted free agent. I would think on a short-term deal, it'll come in somewhere around 5. I would think on a long-term deal, he could get to 6, possibly 6.5. I said earlier in the show 5.5. Talking to some people, they think maybe he could get into 6s. So we'll see how that plays out. But the big one, obviously, with Leo Carlsson getting $18 million a year. How do you look at it from Pat Verbeek's perspective? And Henry Samueli, who's the owner of Anaheim, what do you think they're thinking as all of this goes down? And a big shout out to Matt Cater, man, who negotiated the offer sheet with Philly and got that done. And I said this earlier, Jamal, and I want to get your take on this too. You can place a lot of the blame on Pat because he allowed it to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You signed, Jackson Lacombe. You should have gotten the deal done last summer. But I think once you allow it to stretch, then I think the intelligent agents are going to stretch it out even more. And we're going to stretch this out to get to July 1 because they know that those offer sheets are coming. Now, do you call Pat Verbeek beforehand and say, "Hey, listen, we got an offer sheet, and before we sign, hey, this is where they're at. This is the number. How high are you willing to go?" You don't even make that call, do you?
No, they've already been there. And I think my understanding is that the Ducks are very, very disciplined. It's probably a nice way to say it. Very shrewd in their negotiations.
Under Pat.
Okay. And so it's worked. It has really worked.
Mhm.
It has worked. But I think he overplayed his hand in this instance in regard to Leo. And I think that he was, like everybody who gets an offer sheet, is caught off guard, which
Mhm.
you should never be.
He said he was.
You should never be caught off.
And he said this will change how they go about negotiating with their RFAs in the future with the cap going up and whatnot. He should have been prepared.
You
for that
should have
anyway.
been. It's 2 equations, right? It's two things that have to happen simultaneously. And the reason why Connor Bedard doesn't get an offer sheet is why? Because they have so much cap room.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You force me to. Yeah, I don't want to have to pay him 18, but I can pay him 18.
Right.
I have so much cap room. It's when
And I don't
two
want
things
to pay.
collide.
Yeah.
When you have to sign an important RFA that has the ability to sign an offer sheet, and you're really up against it because you have other guys to sign
Mhm.
who you should have done the projections of what they're expected. That's the thing that's going to really,
What's Gauthier
That's what I'm
able
saying.
to ask for now?
14.
Because if he was, say, a summer ago or earlier in the year,
10 gets it.
Carlson was at 9.5, something like that, that probably gets it done.
Yes.
Then maybe you get Gauthier at 9, or he had 40 goals last year, right? I mean, he may have to get matching contracts. Who knows, right? But now with Carlson getting to 18, where does that take Gauthier?
They will argue and have a good argument that it's an outlier and that it was an offer sheet.
Mhm.
Okay. But it still drags it up.
Gets him up to 15,
It
right?
drags. I think it has a more of an effect on the high end players elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Internally, it does drag it up, but not to the extent that you think.
But you're not getting him for
immediately.
9.
You're not. It pulls it up
Just
2
like
or 3 million.
Minute Yukov, whatever, the defenseman, they had to sign him at 7. He wasn't a 7
No.
beforehand.
The problem is, and that's what people probably don't understand. And you Ducks fans out there,
And they
it's
had an
coming.
offer sheet coming for him too. By the
It's
way.
coming, Ducks fans. You know what's happening? You're going to lose some good players.
Yeah, they have to.
They have to. They're going to lose. They're going to keep their young guys, but you're going to lose a Killorn. You're going to lose a couple really good players that have helped you get to where you are, because you can't retain those guys anymore and pay. Not only that, you've got Cutter Gauthier coming. You've got who's the other really example? One of my favorite, right, is power forward in today's game, right-hand shot. Seneca.
Mhm.
You've got Seneca
Dexter
coming.
Seneca,
It needs to be
yeah.
done in a couple of years. You've got a lot of the defenseman that's unreal skater that didn't play much in USA at the Olympics.
Yeah, he just
Lacombe.
got done.
You know, like there's issues coming
Mhm.
for them that that was misplayed, dude.
Oh,
It was misplayed because the rule should be this: are we too close? Who else do we have to get done? And do we have to eat $2 million and maybe sign? Because you probably could have got him done at 15. You know what I mean? You were probably sitting around 12 and a half for him. I'm talking about Carlson.
Yeah.
And he wanted 15. Wouldn't you rather take get him 14 and a half and call it a day?
I know.
And said, now you misplayed it. And now he's at 18. And that's going to pull everyone else up closer to where.
And I like Pat. You know, I never obviously had to work for him, so I can't put my feet in those shoes. But talking to people who have, I mean, he's an interesting one to work for. I don't think it's always easy to work for. And you could see how he's going to do things his way, but his way worked against him. To me, it's this simple. And I said it on our podcast this week. If you have a special player on your roster in your organization, you have to treat him like he's special. And if you don't, this is what you're doing. Now it completely changes your entire economic landscape of your team, of how you look to balance the salary cap and navigate your way to the salary cap moving forward, you know?
I think what happens is, and I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way. I think sometimes when you are a former player and you're sitting in that seat, it's hard to imagine giving someone 15.
Paying this kid $15 million.
15, like
Yeah,
it's
he's
hard.
like Stevie Y never made more than 5.
You know, I think you kind of get stuck in that, like
whatever Stevie
it's
Y
like
made. Yeah.
It's like 15 goals is really $4.5 million a year now.
I know.
But you know what?
But that's how all the old school veteran players talk when you're just sitting around having beers.
Right.
You know?
And that's what they were saying when I was making whatever. Like they're like, oh my God, 8 goals get you that. You know?
Right.
So
right.
You gotta stop. You gotta stop yourself and have people you listen to who say, listen, this is where it's going. There's nothing we can do.
Okay, but here's the thing now. And I know like Carlson's coming out and saying, hey, I always wanted to be a Duck. And I look at Celebrini because his contract's going to come
up. 3 choices.
And what do you mean between the other offer sheets?
Three offer sheets.
Yeah, I know. But you signed one, right?
Right. But I'm just saying, like, he didn't have to sign them.
No.
But he had 3 options. And
how do you not sign it?
He chose Philly.
Can't fault the player for signing it, can you?
You sign that all day long.
All day long. Somebody's going to offer you that. You have to sign it.
It's like I told my son yesterday or the day before. I said, well, you know why no one's offered Bedard? I know he hurt his shoulder, but no one's offered Bedard an offer sheet. I wonder why. Because the teams don't value him the way the internet and the way he's being promoted.
Okay, I thought you were going to say because they left themselves enough cap room to match. Because that's what Anaheim did.
That helps.
Anaheim left themselves enough cap room to match. But no, they don't value Bedard the same way they would a Leo Carlson.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. And now with the shoulder especially, I just wonder what Chicago's going to do.
I think you end up signing him to a 4-year deal.
I mean, are we going to say about Connor Bedard 20 years from now, like what he could have been if he didn't have shoulders? I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, multiple shoulder injuries. How many guys their game is affected by bad shoulders?
I don't know. He's like,
it's just popping out.
Okay, listen. Did you watch the video?
He
fell and
he just
went
fell
into the corner.
Well, no one even touched him.
That's scary to me. I'm glad that he's taking the time to repair. Like, I'm not sure if he just did he have a surgery before? Or like, now it appears like he's getting it repaired.
This used to happen to Tarasenko. He's never really been the same player since. I know he was a little bit older, obviously. Patrick Berglund used to have his shoulder just pop out all the time, had to have surgery. Yeah. I mean, I just think when your shoulder is, and when you're having multiple surgeries on a shoulder, and I'm not 100% sure if it's the same shoulder that he had operated on off the face-off with Braden Shen last year, you know, like.
Right.
But he's had to go through this a couple of times, and he's missing a lot of hockey, you know what I mean? Like, the team's not getting any better with him not playing and not being in the lineup, so.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. What's your take on no trade clauses? You know, I put this out there on Twitter yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. Are you on Twitter?
Is that the X thing?
Yeah.
I think I'm on it.
Okay, so I
don't say anything.
I tweeted yesterday. I was talking to an executive, NHL GM, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And his rule that he would love to put in place that is, if you negotiate a no trade clause as a player, but then you ask for a trade, your no trade clause in your contract is now voided, and the team has the right to trade you to any team in the league.
No,
You don't like that.
no, it's
You-
close.
What about these guys that are like asking to be traded and they have full no trade protection, and then they want to tell the team? I do like that about Yzerman because he is old school and he was a great player and probably has a level of confidence that maybe other GMs don't have. And he's like, well, okay, you want to be traded, but you're not going to tell me where I'm going to trade. I'm going to trade you where I want to trade you and where I get the best deal. And if you don't like it, then you're going to have to stay.
Yeah, I'm not far off. I think there's a compromise. I think it'll be negotiated. My suggestion is something and I think I texted Elliot this is what I would suggest is this: if you have 2 or more years remaining on your contract, and you ask for a trade, and you have a no move, no trade, your list of teams cannot be 3 or 4.
Mhm.
Your list of teams, I think a realistic number is a third. So call it 10. You have to come up with 10 teams you're willing to be traded to, if you have 2 or more years remaining.
Mhm.
Because clearly the team signed you in good faith, gave you the no movement. You can't then, with term
Mhm.
left on your deal, demand to get moved somewhere else. You're really putting the organization in a tough position.
Mhm.
And I think that all GMs are hoping that Stevie Y goes at Larkin in a hard manner to kind of show, but he's got to be very careful because that's at the expense of making his team better
Mhm.
to prove a point. But I think that in the next CBA, there will be a ratification
Yeah,
somewhere along that line.
This will reach the bargaining table. for
It
sure.
will be on the table because
Mhm.
I think the no moves are still going to exist.
Yeah.
I think what you have to agree on is parameters that make it possible to do
Mhm.
business, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not fair for the team to then be told they have 3 teams to negotiate with, when everyone knows really it's only one team that player really wants to go to, but the 2 other teams you put in there knowing they're up against the cap,
Mhm.
knowing they already have 2 guys that do what you do, and they can't fit you anyway,
Right.
and you did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So give them a list of teams. I think that'll be negotiated, whether it's 6 or it's 10.
Mhm.
That number has to be a real number so that the GMs can then actually make a move.
Yeah. It's like when I talk to some goalies who have limited no trade clauses, and they purposely don't put Winnipeg on there among their teams because they know they're not going to get traded to Winnipeg with Hellebuck there. So it's like,
It's right.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly.
But they know they're exposing themselves potentially if Hellebuck were to get traded.
Yes.
You're taking that risk at the same time.
But they resubmit their list, I believe, every
June 30th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Before July 1. So, yeah, that's always
Sometimes guys
interesting.
forget to submit their
I know.
list.
I know. We've seen that. Berglund had that issue, and they sent him to Buffalo. That wasn't his fault, though.
It's a
He
bad
fired his agent. I think his agent had it.
It's a bad age.
I know.
Actually, I have to put reminders on your
Oh, my
on your
God.
computer, bud.
I know. What do you make out of players secretly like leaking to the media that they Brady Tkachuk doing a podcast with Matthew like was a problem in Ottawa? Do you really does that bother you? These guys are like leaking that. I mean, it's unconventional. Like, it's not really a problem as much, I don't think, for Matthew being in Florida as maybe it could be for Brady, who was in Ottawa, because of the media attention there. It's completely different. Like, what he dealt with as a captain of Ottawa is probably a little different than what Matthew was dealing with in Florida, especially when you consider Florida had won so much over the last couple of years.
We are so, as a sport, so hypocritical. On one hand, we want players to show more personality and get to know them more and see who they are outside of the game, and that is a fantastic example of 2 brothers who live so far apart before when they started this podcast, to get insight into how they think, who
Mhm.
they are, how they view the league, the respect that they've. One thing that's come out for me has been really apparent how much respect they have for other players.
Mm-hmm.
Always talking highly about
Yeah.
different players and, oh, that guy's tough to play against. And I find that really interesting because everyone knows they're fierce competitors. It's also fun to see them joking around and having fun and talking about things. I mean, if there's a teammate or someone that has a problem with it, unless he talked about you in the podcast, like why do you have a problem with it?
Yeah, I know.
I don't get it.
I know. So I don't know, for a player to say that, because I talked to players too who played on Ottawa and I reached out to a couple of them. They didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just because one player tells you that
Well, it only
doesn't mean that it was the universal opinion across the board.
It could have been one player saying something off the cuff that a reporter in Ottawa ran with and says, yeah, there's guys in the room that didn't like it.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't. There was one guy that said something.
Right.
And he's probably thinking, I didn't really say that. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
but I didn't mean it like that.
Right.
I just said that was kind of stupid for them to do that. Whatever they said.
Yeah.
Right? And it gets blown out of proportion. Welcome to Canada.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Joel Hofer, he's one, before we get out of here, I would imagine the Blues are trying to get something done with him now.
Yeah.
To extend him. You know what I mean? Just because you know how important he is to this team moving forward. You don't see too many goalies get offer sheeted, but like, I just wonder what agents and players are all thinking now who are in that situation. You know, like, hey, maybe I can get an offer sheet. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
and now with the cap going up and guys are making 18, like, how do you know what to sign for? Like, you guys are signing Dylan Holloway to sign a deal like under $8 million. This guy scores 30-something goals. Guys are, now the average players, the good players, the 30 goal scorers, the 25 goal scorers. I mean, they're going to be making north of 10.
Yep. They're gonna be, but it's a math problem, right? Just do the projections and chart it out, and that's what they should be.
Can the NHL sustain this? I'm a little worried about that. We had a lockout, as you well know. You didn't get paid for a full year.
I got 2 lockouts.
2 lockouts. So with that, I mean, I just worry, like, can the league? I know it's healthy and everything's going great, but can they sustain the direction that we're going in right now?
Yeah, I think the new TV deal that was signed in Canada and that the things are so healthy in the United States, and you've got Southern teams having so much success. I think really helps grow the game. I think that I think the game's in a great place. I really do.
Maybe this takes pressure off of Kaprizov in Minnesota. He's no longer the highest paid player.
That's right. Now it looks like a good contract.
What would you pay Bedard?
Short-term, 4-year deal, around between 14 and 15.
Really?
He's your franchise player.
He sells tickets.
He sells tickets. You're gonna need him to be what you hope him to be. And support him. Like, if they supported him, really, have they given him a 1B, a 1C? Like, I'm talking about line power play guys, and have they given him guys like
have some young guys coming in,
really see what he can do?
Yeah.
So that's 3 years in a row, right?
Who do you like in the World Cup?
Can I like 3 teams?
You can, but I need one. It's got to be France, though, right? They got to be.
That's the easy pick. That's easy. I watched. They've been unbelievable.
Okay, let me ask you this: Norway, England. They play each other tomorrow. That's the must see.
Holland
overcame.
Yes, but my stepdad's from England.
Yeah,
from North London. We're Arsenal fans, so I'll go England in that one. I also like the way Spain plays.
Yeah, they played today.
They possess the ball.
They're playing Belgium, so that'll be an interesting.
That'll be a good one.
They're all good ones nowadays.
No, it's not. It's good. No,
it's just so who Argentina? That's who I want to see in the final.
All right, I'm gonna go.
I just don't know how the brackets shape up. Who'll have to play when they.
I'll go. I want to see Messi win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How could you not?
He's
amazing. Honestly, it's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen by an athlete in my life. The fact that he's got so much attention and so much pressure, and there's so many eyes on him, and for him to deliver every single game is like it is absolutely incredible to me.
It really is.
So anyway, all right, who brought you to Hockey Sense today?
Well, first of all, you got Spas and More. So excited. Next week, they're putting in a hot tub, a cold tub, and a sauna. So pumped. I know you've got the hot tub, and I haven't been invited over yet, but whatever. Local master spa dealer with 2 locations in Sunset Hills, Missouri, and Overland Park, Kansas City. Mike Lee is the owner of Spas and More. They're Master Spas is an American hot tub and swim spa manufacturer located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They're the largest hot tub and swim spa manufacturer in the U.S. Michael Phelps, Chili Goat Tub's going to get one of those too. Angie Hess does a great job there running the show at the Sunset Hills location. Spas and More offers high-quality hot tubs, swim spas, cold tubs, and infrared saunas for all of your health and wellness and relaxation needs. Turn your backyard into the oasis of your dreams with the Master Spas from Spas and More. Spas and More located at 12957 Gravois Road in Sunset Hills, where we put the I in spa.
Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
Oh, buddy. I don't even have to read. Great people. great company, over 42 locations in town.
If your wife hits a curb
Oh, that happens a lot.
and you get a flat tire,
That
you're on the run. You just need to, hopefully you need a patch. You don't
Yes.
need a new tire.
They'll take care of you. But they'll be honest. That's the best part.
Exactly. Just take it in there right away.
Yes. They'll diagnose. Doesn't matter what you drive, a car, light truck, van, SUV, hybrid, or EV. They'll get your car. They'll diagnose it. They'll get you in the tire that's within your budget.
Yeah.
If you only need 2 tires, they're not going to sell you 4.
Right.
That's the best part about them. They'll get your car in, up, fixed, and out the same day. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
All right. I love it. All right. Jamal Mayers on not the Camel Strick podcast. He's been on the Camel Strick podcast. He's been on there before. This is Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. All right, we appreciate Jammer for joining us. Always great to catch up with him. Great insight. I love all the comments we're getting. People reaching out, let me know what you like about the show. And, just getting the feedback, man. We love it. And we talk hockey all year round, man. Nothing better than talking hockey, even in the summer. And we'll go over that schedule coming up very, very soon, which, again, is coming out in next week, July 16th. I'll have the new schedule out. But so much crazy stuff happening. Connor McMichael will eventually get that contract signed. And the Blues are pretty much set. It's interesting. You look at the competition right now, defensively, who's going to stick? And you got Jiricek, you got Brandon Carlo now coming into the mix. We got to get him on. And just what that means for Tyler Tucker. And Cam Fowler pretty much he's got a spot for sure, obviously, in your top 6. And it's just who's going to be his partner, I think, is the question. And then Lindstein, can he secure a spot? Is he going to show enough in training camp to make the impression that he showed last year when he came on board? He really impressed last year. I loved watching him play. He was really good. So him and Parayko and then Broberg and Mayu, that's kind of your top 4 as it's penciled in right now. But Jiricek's going to have something to say about that, I have a feeling. Carlo is got in the final year of a 6-year deal. He can come in and out if you need him to. But he's a veteran guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in the lineup every single night. He kills penalties. He does some things that can certainly help this team. So it's going to be interesting. Does Jiricek make the team out of training camp? I've always thought that there's no question he's going to make it. But now he's going to have to show something in a shortened training camp. You don't have as many games to get into to make an impression. And he's going to have to, obviously make his case, which I think everyone's confident he can certainly do. It's just like Justin Carbonneau and some of these guys. I think Carbonneau probably starts the year in the American League. They got a lot of bodies, with Jonathan Berggren coming back. And now you have Ross Johnston, adding some muscle. And some depth. You still have Nathan Walker and all these other guys. Stenberg, what does that mean for him? Yeah, I can't wait for training camp. This is going to be one of the more interesting training camps in quite a while. All right, for everybody affiliated with Hockey Sense, all our great sponsors, including First Community that brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. Cheap, dirt cheap, fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app today for Dirt Cheap. Find the location nearest you and stock up while the summer is still here. You still have plenty of time to enjoy yourself for the summer. Again, I'm going to take next Friday off. I'm going to be on vacation, so we'll pick things back up in 2 weeks. We appreciate all the support. I'll still be available to reach and connect with all of you on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at RealStrickNasty and then at Andy Strickland on Twitter. So we appreciate you tuning in once again this week. We thank Jamal Mayers for joining us. And obviously Dakota Mermis, man. Great catching up with Dakota. For Aiden, everybody here at Half Coast Studios, I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again in 2 weeks. Not next Friday. Taking next Friday off, but we go all year round here on Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios. Have a great weekend, everybody. All right, Sandy Meyer is with us. We talk about Travel House all the time, getting out on vacation. Everyone needs a vacation. I just got back from Punta Cana. I was in, actually, I wasn't in Punta Cana. I was in Dominican. We flew into Punta Cana, but then drove like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Don't ask me where we went. I just know it was beautiful. It was incredible. And obviously wouldn't be made possible without the great people at Travel House and everybody on their team who they work with, including Sandy Meyer, who I know they work very closely with, and Sandy does great stuff. Sandy, thank you for joining us as always. Always great to see you, and thanks for doing this.
Andy, you know what? Thanks for having me. Truly appreciate it. And you just got back from Punta Cana. It's one of my favorite places. I mean, the beaches are amazing. I love the people there, but everybody needs a vacation. And you're right. The gals and the gentlemen at Travel House, they can take very good care of you.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we stayed at the Secrets. It was incredible. Tell our viewers who you're with and what you do exactly as a business development manager.
No worries. So, Sandy Meyer here, ALG Vacations. Been with the company almost 20 years. I am a business development manager. So basically, my position is to keep the travel advisors in my territory, which is Missouri and Illinois, up to date on everything happening out in all of the territory and all of the places that we go in the world, right? Apple Vacations, FunJet Vacations, those companies have been around for many, many, many years. Most of the consumers know Apple Vacations or FunJet Vacations, but using your travel advisor is something that we highly recommend. We support our travel advisors in the travel agency community 100% with keeping them educated on destinations and hotels and all the airport changes. And that is our job, to keep them informed so they can correctly inform their consumers.
All right, and we're back in full swing, right? People are taking vacations. They're traveling all over the place, right?
Oh, Annie, people are traveling. People are really traveling. Our flights are going out full. Everybody's planning a vacation. The one thing we're seeing a little bit more this year than years past is everybody's booking pretty last minute. I mean, we're in July and people are now booking for August and September for the fall. And typically we see those kinds of bookings, 6 to 8 months out, but people are booking pretty close in.
I know. And the reality is you can still do that. You got last minute deals. I mean, I always hear about last minute deals, and you've got some you can share with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we listen to the consumer and people are booking last minute. So we are the company that puts those last minute deals out there. If you've got something set in stone and your date is firm and you've got your heart set on somewhere to go, I wouldn't wait till the last minute to book, because availability could sometimes be an issue. But these specials that we put out at the last minute are these hotels that do have availability. The dates on the flights that we can get you to Cancun or Punta Cana nonstop out of St. Louis. We put that together as a package. And sometimes we're seeing these packages at 3 nights for $4.99, 5 nights for $9.99, 7 nights for $11.99 per person. Those are some unbelievable steals of a deal. We're talking all inclusive. That's your flight, your transfers, your hotel, your food, your beverages, your entertainment. We wrap it up all in one big package.
Wow, so that includes the flight too. That's incredible. I love hearing that. Where do you like to travel? I'm always curious. The people who set up everybody's travel and encourage people to travel to this place or that destination, where are your go-tos? Like, if you're going to go on vacation with your family and enjoy yourself, where do you like to go?
Wow, I get that question a lot. And I've been in this business over 40 years, 20 as a trial advisor and 20 on the tour operator side. And it's always an interesting question to me because I have lots of favorite places. So for me, it would really depend on what I'm doing. If it's a girls' getaway for a quick weekend, you hop a flight to Cancun, you're there in 2 hours. You find that all inclusive. You can spend time with your friends, sit at the pool bar, get some sun, that kind of a thing. If it's a family vacation, that's a completely different outlook on where you're going. Some of my favorite destinations, I love Punta Cana. It's always been a favorite. But at the top of my list is probably one that is very dear to me, and that's Jamaica. Love that island. Love the people. Love everything about Jamaica.
I love Jamaica too. We've been like 3 or 4 times, and now we haven't been in a couple years. Is getting there easier now from St. Louis than it used to be? It used to be really easy, then it got hard for a little while.
Yeah, so we're hoping to bring back some nonstops for 2027. We'll see how that works out yet. But, there's scheduled carriers that have great flights out of St. Louis. It's a connection through either Dallas, Miami, or Charlotte on American, or you've got Delta or United as well. But there's some great opportunities on some scheduled air into Jamaica right now. And, they suffered from that hurricane, which really was tough for them last fall. So about 75% of the hotels are open now, Andy. And by April of next year, 100% of those hotels will be back open, and they'll be like brand new hotels. But don't be afraid to go. I mean, there's a lot of things as far as excursions. Hotels are open. There's things for you to see and do. And honestly, if you're going and you want to go, don't be afraid to pay for that extra bag and take them some supplies because there are still supplies that island needs.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a good idea. So if you want to help out, take an extra bag and do that. They should allow you to write that off. You know, if you're bringing supplies to like help people, they shouldn't even charge you for that. But I love the idea. I love the idea. All right, so we were talking about the last minute deals, but in reality, if you want to plan ahead, Christmas time, but giving a gift of travel. I mean, is there a better gift you can give somebody than a vacation, Sandy?
I don't think so, Andy. I think the gift of travel is, I think sometimes the holidays are, you get so many material items under the tree, right? My family and I have traveled a lot and we've done those kinds of Christmas vacations. And I will tell you, my kids are all grown and gone and they have children of their own, but they still talk about those family vacations that we did together for holidays, whether that was a ski trip out to Colorado, whether that was a beach trip, or just, getting together at, in Florida.
Yeah.
At a family home or something. But the gift of travel it's priceless. I mean, it truly is priceless. There's no way to put a price tag on it with all the memories that you can make when you do those kinds of family vacations.
No, I hear you. We're heading out to Colorado next week. I got to get out of the heat, Sandy, So get me to the
Wait, have you
mountains.
checked the temperature, Andy, in Colorado?
It's cold there, actually. Where we're going, it's going to be like 60-something degrees every day. I'm waiting for my middle daughter. I'm waiting for her to complain that we're not at a beach and that it's too cold, But I got to get out of the heat. This is interesting. The St. Louis travel to London, right? British Air nonstop to London. How long is that flight? And where else are we talking nonstop, or where you can go to Europe out of St. Louis? How new is this?
Oh, it's very new. ALG Vacations has always been known for the sun and fun. We have really broadened our horizons. We have really grew our portfolio, and we do so much now in Europe and the rest of the world. I mean, we've got things that you can do to the South Pacific as well now. But for us in St. Louis to get that British Air nonstop, Andy, we haven't had a nonstop to London since TWA, and we all know how long ago they went away, right? So this nonstop flight for British Air started in April. And it goes all summer long. It goes 4 times a week. If you've not had an opportunity to go to London, I mean, it's so fun. It's such a fantastic city, right? It's easy to get around. The money exchange is easy. The language is easy. And now with this nonstop, it would be so easy just to go to London for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it can do it, right? And the British Air flight is a really, really nice aircraft. So it's a good flight over and back. We were very excited to see that come back, but St. Louis hasn't had anything Europe nonstop in quite some time. And then if you're interested in other destinations, Lufthansa also now brought back a nonstop into Frankfurt. So we definitely have some really good options. And again, these are all things that we train the travel advisors on. So don't be afraid to pick up that phone, call that travel advisor, because they are very aware of exactly what days those British Air flights go and exactly what days those Lufthansa flights go into Frankfurt, and they can give you all of that information.
Okay, I love it. And don't forget about Cabo, Aruba. There's so many other options that are out there as well. So Sandy Meyer, ALG Travel. Listen, how can people reach you, or how do you suggest, if somebody wants to plan a vacation after watching this and listening to you, what's the next step?
Their phone call would be to the travel house, right? Gail and her team over there, they've done travel for many, many years. They're very familiar with all of our products at ALG. So definitely pick up the phone, call Gail and her team at Travel House. I have no doubt they will take very, very good care of you.
No, they are the best. 314-842-6000. You can check it out, travelhouse.com. I always say it's H-A-U-S. It's not H-A-O-U-S. It's not H-O-U-S-E. It's H-A-U-S. That's that house.
Correct.
But Gail, she and her team, they are the absolute best. So, Sandy, listen, enjoy the rest of your summer. Always great to chat with you, and look forward to doing it again.
Andy, thank you for your time. When you're ready to travel again, let us know for sure. We'll get you taken care of, and have fun in Colorado with your family.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Thank you, dear.
Thanks.
See you later.
Yep.
Bye-bye.